Just grab a mic and we'll enter a chat.
We're very excited to have Lauren Puretz here. Did I say that right?
Puretz,
excuse me. And Lauren, you're moving actually pretty good. I'm impressed the fact that you look like you actually have a decent walking gait, considering you threw down yesterday on course.
Yeah. So, getting up and down is rough, but once
sure.
I get going, it's not too bad.
Well, ask you again tomorrow, right? I know for me, it's the first day is you're like, oh, that's not so bad, and then it's the second day where you're just like, oh, I just got hit by a mountain.
Yeah, right. So. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of that right now.
So, Lauren, you ran a blistering 15 hours and change, like 15 hours and seconds.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about how things went out for you yesterday? You actually were part of a group of women that from the 2 to 6 range were pretty tightly wound over the course of the day.
Yeah. I was feeling pretty good the first 2 loops. The third loop was rough. I hit, I don't know if it was needed more salt or just more ice, but that third loop was rough. So I was a little worried at that point. But then picked up my pacer for loop 4, and I felt great. So I guess it was nice to walk in the heat for a little bit. So I felt great, and I was just kind of taking it. If I could move and could roll, I was just going to take it. And told myself that I'd done all my walking, so I wasn't allowed to walk anymore for the next 2 loops. So was able to kind of claw my way back after that to third, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, I was at Jackass Junction yesterday and saw you, I think, for at least 3 loops. And I just felt like you were cool and collected, and you were very efficient, and it looked like you were executing at least your race day strategy really, really well. I think the one thing I wanted, we were joking about it right outside before you came in, but Lauren, you had this technique with the ice that I thought was amazing. They had this big swimming pool out there, and they just kept putting all the big chunks of ice that they couldn't break up for runners into the swimming pool. And after Lauren would come in and get dialed with all the ice she needed and cooled off with water, she would grab the biggest chunk of ice she could and just shove it down her sports bra and her vest and leave with like an iceberg of ice.
Yeah.
And I was just like thinking to myself, like, that's a solid Javelina pro move.
Yeah, it was actually glorious. I think I accidentally did it the first loop just because that's what I could get my hands on, and I was like, we'll see. And it was this big piece, but as I went along, it kind of broke up to smaller pieces, and I could put it in my hands, and then we could kind of like, as I started to evaporate and like get less, I could like wipe it all on my butt or my stomach, or like, just bite off a piece of ice and kind of chew on it for a minute. And I was like, this is a great idea. So I tried to do it every other lap that I needed it. So it wasn't a pre-planned thing, but it turned out to be like a happy accident that I will repeat from here on out.
Yeah, I will. Let's just say taking notes, because that was really good. And obviously people were putting ice in their hats, ice in their bandanas, ice down their arm sleeves. But just to take like a huge, I'm talking like...
Yeah.
Huge chunks of ice. So,
the first one like came up to my chin and then went down like to here. It was huge.
Love that. That's awesome. To have such a great... if I felt like... I wasn't looking at your splits, but I just felt like you were just very consistent, like all day. But anything, you mentioned the walking spells, but any like the one moment where you allowed yourself a little bit of grace and have a little bit of reset with the walking, but any highs and any really high highs and really low lows out there for you?
I think the fourth loop was my high. So after that not so great third loop, something just clicked. I don't think my pace was actually, but I felt like I was flying, especially after Jackass back down, and just felt really good. So that was like my high point. The last loop, it was kind of like, all right, can we keep going? Like, how is this going to go? Which the climb up to Jackass was a little bit slower, but still pretty consistent. And then was able to, I think, finish out the last loop just under 3 hours. So kind of was able to make up the time I lost on the third loop from walking so much. Because my goal was kind of 15 hours on the dot. which meant each lap had to be around 3 hours. So, so that I think whatever clicked at the fourth loop kind of took me to the end, I think.
Lauren, we're going to circle back around to this in just a moment. I want to give a quick shout out to our most recent finishers of the 100K. Nancy Rivera, 25:44:45. Melissa Pineo, 25:47:16. And on the 100 miler side, our most recent finishers, Scott Dudley, 26:47:29. Luke McRae, 26:49:49. And Ted Thies, 26:51:29. So, Lauren, I've been watching you race now for a few years, and frankly, what you've been doing to level up is absolutely fantastic. So, last couple of years, you've run a pretty solid 16 and change out here, and warm but not hot years. This year was absolutely blazing. And so were you. I mean, you dropped over an hour off your time.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you had one of my favorite moments of the year was the surprise golden ticket face.
Yeah.
I actually happened to catch a video of it where you can see you mouthing a word that
I did.
It was hilarious. It was actually one of my favorite moments of the year. But, what have you changed this year that's enabled you to level up so much? Because you went from, having some pretty respectable 16-hour and change results here to golden ticket at Black Canyon, a fine showing at Western States, and now a top 3 finish here, dropping an hour at Javelina 100. What's changed for you?
Probably trying to balance work and running better. So being more balanced in that. I was doing gynecology and obstetrics, and I dropped obstetrics last year. Just that call schedule just is really hard when you're working 72 hours in a row and trying to recover and trying to train in there. So made the decision to kind of prioritize running more and less work, which was one of the best decisions I made. In general, just even for life, like I have more time and more joy in everything, my kids, my husband, and running. So I think that was a big thing. And then just focusing on kind of all the other things besides running, all the body work, whether it's PT or lifting and stretching and sauna and all that kind of stuff that's kind of, about running but not the actual running part. And so prioritizing that as opposed to being like, yeah, I'll do it later, and then you never do it later. And so really focusing on that part too. I think have been the two biggest changes, I would say, in the last year and a half that I've done.
Well, it's definitely paid off, obviously.
Yeah,
so, you're doing really great, and I can't wait to see, where 2026 leads you. So,
yeah, I mean, this is something,
or 2025.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, obviously you're a Type A person that comes out as far as being a professional and a professional, right? So you're running at an elite status, but you're also elite in your vocational life too, right? So you mentioned the whole balancing all that stuff, and as I'm a new father, it's something that I talk about with most of my guests when on my podcast is like, how do you balance all the things? And I'm talking to mostly middle of the pack runners, but like even as myself, like I have a 9 to 5, right? Who doesn't, right? And then I also I love to run, I like to train. I'm a new father, but like, what does it look like for you to be able to show up in those 3 facets of your life that you mentioned, which is training to be a pro athlete, and then also like being a professional gynecologist, OBGYN, and then also, obviously you mentioned you have a family, and it's nice to be able to spend time with them too. So
right, I mean, and I think that's the thing is it's not a balance, it's a teeter-totter where like sometimes something is you got to give up one thing and you prioritize the other thing, and then you just kind of hot mess it with this teeter-totter of what's going to get more at the time. I think working with your spouse or the co-workers or whatever it may be to be like, this is a goal here is short term, like I'm not going to have as much. Brene Brown I think has this really great quote, but basically like marriage isn't 50-50. Sometimes it's 20-80, and you basically have to be like, hey, I'm going to put more time into this training for this run, like spouse, can you cover me, right? Or partners or co-workers, right? And this is that balance of like, and then when I the next little bit, like I'll pick up and give him a break so he can do some stuff he wants to do and take on more of those responsibilities. So yeah, there is no balance, but it's a teeter-totter of adjusting things as you roll through life, because it's never a balance.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's what I'm picking up here. It's really the communication.
Yeah.
Right? It's having really open and direct and not vulnerable, but being vulnerable with what your goals are with the people around you, so that everyone understands, like, hey, this is really important to me.
Right.
And I'm going to be there to support you, and it's okay to ask for that support. And I think that's the hard part. Like, as type A people, it's like, oh, I can do it all by myself, you know?
Right, you can't do it all. You'll drop all the balls on the ground, right?
Yeah. Well, and I love, so you mentioned a teeter-totter. I always like to think of it as like a tripod or a stool with 3 legs, right? And like, you can only let one of the legs get so short before everything tips off the tip of the stool, right?
I
think, I just love that you're willing to talk a little bit about that, because I think it's really important, especially for a lot of the audience and a lot of the middle and the back of the Packers, to be able to see someone like yourself who can compete at a high level, but also find a way to get it done on the other fronts of life, you know?
That, and just being very dedicated and very specific with your time.
Sure.
I feel like sometimes when I have more time, I like dilly-dally around, but it's like, I gotta get up at this time to do this, and if I don't, there goes that time. So you have to be very dedicated. Like, that's the other thing, is like, there's not a lot of relaxing going on, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is what you have to do it, so you better focus and get it done, which kind of makes me get it done as opposed to putzing about. But
yeah, well, you gotta be focused. You gotta have the goals. The goal setting is important too.
Yep.
So it's like, and I like that you obviously mentioning that you're like, I was doing a lot professionally, and now I'm like, I cut some of that back, and I found that I've got more time for my family, and I have more time for my training, and ultimately that leads to probably a happier Lauren at the end of the day.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
I jokingly but not jokingly say, now my kids don't hate me, my husband doesn't hate me, and my work doesn't hate me, so it's all better.
Talk about finding balance, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Shout out to our most recent finishers of the 100K, Zoe Silver, 25:53:22. Melinda Yelverton, local runner, 25:55:01. And Aaron Jaskowitz in the 100 miler, 26:55:41.
People are incredible to keep going. Wow.
Still going.
So great. So amazing.
Yeah. So, Lauren, with 2024 drawing to a close, what's on your race slate for 2025? Any big plans?
The only one I've thought about was Big Alta. Looked beautiful, but that's all I've really thought about. I haven't even gone there yet.
And slide back into Black Canyon, grab another golden ticket, perhaps? Or?
I don't know. And I'm bummed that I didn't get a golden ticket. But I don't know. I had such a great experience at Black Canyon. Did you go back, and what if it's bad, and then you're tarnished your good memory of it? I don't know what I'm going to do.
Then again, you had 2 pretty good experiences here before this year.
That's true.
And then
Valid point.
You leveled up that.
Valid point.
Actually, you know what? I want to say thank you. Shameless plug for the Air Viper Racing team. You all showed out here this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you and Corinne
did amazing.
Yeah. Sierra had a rough day, but she still pushed through it.
Did she finish? I didn't check
it. She finished about the 24-hour mark. But, she had big goals coming in, and she went for it. And there's something to be admired about that.
Yeah, right?
So, the women of the Air Viper Racing team
I know.
showed out here today. So
right.
Great job.
It was nice sharing a tent. Because sometimes you lose people when you come in and everybody goes to their different tents. It was kind of nice to have everybody, a lot of them in that tent to kind of,
Actually, it's funny you mention that, because, of course, having come out here for many years, when they organized the whole tent city thing, one of the things that was always a big deal was to try and have that front space, close to the start finish, because that was where the energy and that where the buzz was. And one thing that I've noticed is that in some cases, the pros have actually kind of done the opposite and kind of moved away.
Yeah.
Because you can use the front entryway or a tent further away from the start finish line as a drop point. You drop everything down, and you come in, you come back, and by the time you get back, your crew's already ready for you.
Right.
You actually encounter a little bit more of a tighter window to do that kind of thing. I mean, obviously, your teammates for Air Vipa are pretty dialed in and take care of you. But basically, it's you have a little bit more stoppage time. So maybe we might have to talk about moving the Air Vipa Racing team tent a little bit further down for future reference.
I'll say for the first year I did this, I don't think I was on the team yet. Or if I did, I didn't use the tent. And we were a little bit further down, and it was kind of almost nice. Less crowded, too, less people, kind of congestion. But it is nice to not have to worry about getting a tent.
Yeah, I think it's cool that runners can basically, this whole crew zone area, you can drop everything off and basically run unencumbered for a very short time. But I'm sure that feels good, nothing on your shoulders, nothing in your hands.
Right.
Just go and cross the finish line, come back around, and then, hopefully if everything goes to plan by your crew, that by the time you're, come back around, they're basically able to slap the vest on you, throw some ice, and you're able to rock.
So, Lauren, I wanted to ask you, Aaron Clark was about a minute and 55 seconds behind you with her finish. Did you ever did you guys have any interactions on course? Was there moves? Did you ever feel her presence coming as she was like moving kind of getting closer and closer to that I
think I caught her with 5 miles to go.
Aaron, I'm sorry. Yeah. No, she came into it was closer than that because she came into Rattlesnake right before you. I think you actually passed her in.
Oh, did I? Was it after?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was either at the aid station or right after.
Yeah. When I passed her, I assumed that she was going to be right on my back, and I don't know if it was other people, like the hallucinations, or if it was 100Kers, or I was having hallucinations that I thought she was right behind me the whole time, and I kept on asking my pacer. I was like, "Is she right on me?" And it's hard with headlamps to know who's who or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just assumed she, when I passed her, that she just stuck on my butt and went. So I was running scared for the last little bit, thinking she was right there.
Yeah, I was sleeping during all of that. I won't lie, but I just know, obviously, I think when I saw you at Jackass, I think you were running in 5th at the time. And so you made up, you obviously, you passed Corinne at some point, and you definitely made the pass on Aaron too. And so I just wanted it. I see the finishing time so close, and I'm like, was there anything, spicy and exciting that happened on course? So.
No, I mean, I get pretty quiet when I run. So I just kind of silently passed. Maybe hoping she didn't recognize that I was 100K or something. I don't know. But I don't know if she did know that it was me or not. I assume so.
Right.
But yeah, I was pretty quiet when I passed. So
I do want to correct myself. You actually did hit Rattlesnake just a handful of seconds before she did.
I was going to say, I thought it was right before ish. But anyways, but yeah, no, I passed her. I just assumed she went with me. So I was just, like I said, running scared that she was right there, but nothing actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, you're always running scared when you make that last move with a couple miles to go.
Right.
So, yeah, that's awesome. Let me ask some tactical stuff. What shoes were you wearing for the race? The
Adidas with the Agravic Speed Ultra.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
This their super shoe or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah, nice.
My first race in them.
What'd you think?
I liked them.
Yeah.
I mean, I bit it on the last loop, but that was probably more of just not lifting up my legs. And when I hit the rock and stuff, it hurt. So they're not super padded, but I think you give that up for a faster shoe. So otherwise, I was happy with them. Yeah.
Nice. And then what were you mowing down on course mostly? What was your nutrition plan?
Yeah, so precision is mostly what I do. A little bit of cis beta fuel to get some palate alternatives in there, and then precision. What's it called? Carb and sodium drink in the pack.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't tried that.
And
I like their gels are good.
Yeah.
They have an interesting. Say the palate it's light on the flavor, but it has a little bit of a tropical taste to it.
Yeah, I like their 90 carb packs because I find them easy to open and easy to suck on, and then put it back in so you can kind of suckle on it, if you will. And then I love their caffeine, and I don't find it has a lot of caffeine gels have weird aftertaste, and I don't, so I really like it. But yeah.
Well, Lauren, I think just wanted to have you in here to talk about your experiences. Again, congratulations on a fine race. The progress that you've made over the past couple of years is amazing, and we can't wait to see what happens next with you. Now go get some rest.
Yeah, good luck at Big Alta. I hear good things. So.
Yeah, it looks so pretty. A girlfriend did it last year, and I was like, all right, I'll go. I haven't signed up for anything yet officially, but that's what the next one I think I want to do.
Cool. Yeah, I hear the folks behind it are pretty well dialed in.
Those free trail people in Daybreak, they do a decent job.
They did. I had a great time at Gorge-ish.
Yeah.
Once I warmed up at mile 20.
Lauren, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having
Take
me.
care.
Third place finisher Lauren Puretz, who finished just a hair above 15 hours here this weekend at the Javelina 100, presented by Hoka and the Feed.